Hello and welcome to today's Coffee with Cobb. Today we are going to be talking about the top 5 signs your IT security is not built for business. My name is Kate Vintage and I will be your moderator today. Thank you for joining us. Today we have 2 new faces to Coffee with Cobb, so I am very happy to welcome Mr. Bill England, our VCIO, and Jason Holmes, our enterprise sales consultant. In today's Coffee with Cobb, you can expect to learn all about what you need to know to help prevent and recover from cyber attack and breaches. And with that, let's go ahead and take it away.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Jason Holmes, IT Solutions Specialist here with Cobb Technologies. We're excited about today's Coffee with Cobb. And before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about why this is important, why small business owners and folks who work at small businesses should be concerned with security. So just a couple of facts to start out with. So since 2019, over 16 billion records have been stolen in data breaches. These breaches are becoming all too common, and small businesses are at risk. With that being said, over 60% of small businesses that experience a breach are bankrupt within a year. The most commonly cited reason is a lack of customer and brand trust. So we're going to dig into this a little bit further today, but really when we talk about these data breaches, we're not talking about just small businesses' data being at risk, but that small business and all of their customers as well. So with that, I'm going to leave it over to Bill so we can go over a little bit of agenda for our talk today.
Jason, thank you very much. All right, part of the topics we're going to be discussing today is, of course, with the IT security, is different ways to lock down your environment to help prevent someone from getting in, which that's going to cover 2 or what's considered multi-factor authentication, a VPN tunnel to allow your remote users to come in, a good and known antivirus program that's going to run on your workstations, your servers, and even your tablets or cell phones that you have talking in, firewalls, and of course, backup and disaster recovery. Now, when it comes to the firewall, a lot of people presume that when they get their internet modem from their provider, that it has a firewall in it. Well, it does, sort of. But for real protection, you need to get a dedicated firewall appliance and have it put in place so that it can be configured to only allow in or out the data that you need. Now, the last item that I mentioned briefly was your backup and disaster recovery. One of the points that Jason mentioned was in the event that your small, mid, or even large business does get an infection, does get hacked, does get ransomware, your best line of defense from that point there is having a good, current, and reliable backup and disaster recovery plan that will allow you to recover your data and get your business back up and functioning as quickly as possible, and hopefully avert any further damages that it may happen from that attack. And with that, I'm going to pass the reins back over to Mr. Holmes here.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, so the first thing we want to go over is 2, multi-factor authentication. So this is something that most people are going to be familiar with. This is a really simple way to reduce the risk of your credentials being used against you. So when we talk about cyber attacks, when we talk about data breaches, a lot of the information that these bad actors are going after is going to be your passwords so that they can get access to your accounts and all the information within those accounts. So this is something that's built into a lot of systems. There are many forms of 2-factor or multi-factor authentication. Most people will be familiar with either, ringing your cell phone as a second form of authentication, a code being sent to your email address or texted to you. But there's plenty of other ways as far as PIN numbers, biometric, time passwords for VPN tunnels. So a lot of variety in what you can do, and it really just depends on what level of security you're looking for your business but this is certainly something that everybody can use, not only on their workstations for their small businesses, but also for your personal devices as well. And all this does is it makes it more difficult for hackers, for bad actors to break into your accounts, even if they do have your password. So in the event that they do have that password, they likely won't be able to also authenticate the second time with whatever method you've chosen. So this obviously should be used in any workstation that's on your work networks, but is also a great practice for your home devices. And again, something that we're always going to mention to our customers and folks that we're talking with is always have different passwords for all of your accounts, whether they're personal accounts or work accounts. That way, if you have one account password that's breached, you haven't exposed yourself on multiple fronts in multiple multiple systems with that password breach. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Bill.
Jason, thank you again. All right, one of the topics that has been mentioned a couple of times already is VPN, or a virtual private network. Now, where this is going to come into play and is going to help you, instead of having to open your firewall up into your business network, that would then allow anyone with at least a little bit of skills to be able to access your system and get to your data, we recommend setting up what's called a VPN connection. And with that, there's software that is installed on your remote workstation that when you start it up will actually connect up to your firewall and then create a encrypted tunnel back into your network. So in all shape, form, and fashion, as far as your computer is concerned, you are logged directly onto your network as if you were sitting in the office. What that's going to mean for you is anybody that is scooping around, sniffing any of the traffic going in, they will not be able to read any of your data that's coming in, so you have locked it down. This is best done, if you bring a consultant in, so that we, them, whoever you decide, can look at your system, determine which is the best route to get everything set up, put together a plan or a roadmap that what you're going to do to get your everything locked down from point A to point B. With this, especially in today's times where we have a lot more people working remotely, this will allow your workforce to still continue to be productive and at the same time reduce any risk of having open holes or vulnerabilities in your network that's going to allow people to get in. Jason?
Thanks, Bill. So and we want to talk a little bit about antivirus. So again, there are tons of great and reputable products when it comes to antivirus on the market. This is something that most business owners, most people who have a computer are going to be familiar with, and this is really the bread and butter of your IT security. So when we're consulting with clients, we're always making sure that antivirus is put on any network or any device on your work network, especially those if you have employees who are working remotely or on their own laptops and then bringing those into your work environment. Very important that we have this installed, and it has to be updated regularly. So new breaches in antivirus software is discovered all of the time. So having the most up-to-date version of that software will protect you against the most current breaches and the most current vulnerabilities in that software. And then the last thing on this slide is going to be talking about endpoint protection and endpoint detection and response. So really what this is kind of a deeper form of security. This is usually if you're working with a third party or an in-house IT person for your organization, but this is really going to be where automated responses for the endpoints on your network are kind of configured and start to work. So a really good way to have constant monitoring on the endpoints on your network, and in the event that there's either a breach or an irregularity, There are systems that are set up that basically trigger automated responses to either generate service tickets to have somebody go in and provide patchwork, or it can actually shut those systems down entirely. So a lot of option when it comes to antivirus. Step one, if you don't have antivirus, would to be just get a good and reputable product running immediately, and then consult with a technology expert who can help you tailor that system to your needs. I'll pass it back to Bill here to take over our next product here.
Thank you, Jason. All right, one of the things that we had mentioned early on in this presentation was firewalls. Again, I had made the point that a lot of people are under the assumptions that the firewall that comes standard on their internet modem is going to help protect them. No, that's not the case. That's just a basic firewall. If you're going to look at for that, it does nothing as far as helping protect what gets in and what gets out. In a business environment especially, you need to have a dedicated firewall, whether that's a Cisco ASA, a SonicWall, a FortiGate. It needs to be a good name brand business class firewall that's set up between your network and your internet modem coming in. With the firewall, that's going to then allow you to lock everything down tight so that you close up any gaps that allow people to scan your network, find vulnerabilities, connect up, steal your data, plant bugs in the system, and essentially lock all of your data down so that you can't get it. Now, a firewall is, it's a secure piece of equipment, but just like anything else, they have firmware that needs to be updated regularly on it. And what this means is, over the life of this particular firewall, the hackers, the bad actors, however you want to refer to them out there, are constantly looking for ways to break into your network, to break into your system, to steal or corrupt your data. And the manufacturers of these firewalls are constantly looking at everything that's going on in the world and trying to find any vulnerabilities that they may have on their device. And these firmware updates will close those loopholes up to keep everything as secure as it can be. And by doing that, then that's going to help protect your network any further and help reduce the risk of someone being able to get into them. And by going, with a reputable company as far as in helping configure your firewall, then you can be better assured that there's not any open holes, whether it's intended or part of a design that's closed down. And that's going to help keep your network safer as it can possibly be. Jason?
And one of our last points that we want to touch on here is just our backups and disaster recovery. So Bill went through a little bit of this earlier, but just to touch on it a little bit more, this is really our only true defense against ransomware. When we talk about what a backup does, we basically want to input a system into a network that can take snapshots of your current environment and the current data on your workstations and on your network, so that in the event that there's lost data, corrupted data, or unfortunately, if bad actors are able to get in and commit a ransomware attack on your business, we can roll those systems back to a time before the ransomware attack took place, recover that data, and keep our day-to-day operations going while we're dealing with that breach. So this is very important for any small business to have. Like we mentioned before, many small businesses, about 60%, are one disaster away from closing the doors for good. And they don't just lock your data away. This is really, again, a network of breaches when we talk about a single company that's being breached. It's that company's information, and in turn, clients' data, clients' personal information, and depending on what kind of business it is that's attacked, this could be anything from medical records to banking statements and all sorts of personal information that can really damage a brand and hurt a small company. And the last point on this slide is, again, a couple of acronyms. So RTO and RPO. These really are going to go into, again, finding a good consultant, somebody who you can talk to and come up with a good plan for your organization. So what these two things are basically the time that it takes for your backups to be recovered and your data to be recovered, how much time your business can stand to be down for, essentially. And then the second piece of this is how much or how often the backup is happening. So in the event that we have a breach on one day, when was the last backup that was done, and what information is going to be available to us on that most recent backup. So I'm going to pass it back over to Bill here and just talk about how you can really figure out with a consultant or figure out how to kind of manage these solutions for your business. I know this presentation is really meant to give you kind of a broad stroke, a broad view of how we view network security, but it really comes down to your specific organization and how you want to attack security.
Jason, thank you again. Now, something that has been mentioned a couple of different times, and Jason was speaking about it just a minute ago as well. How do you manage all of these solutions? What is the best way for you to decide what your needs are? Are you secure? Do you need to make any changes? Do you have the proper network equipment? Are you controlling access into your business the way you're supposed to? Do you have the right antivirus? Do you have the right backup disaster recovery protection that you need in order for your business to survive, especially in today's times? One of the answers to these questions is like the first line of this slide says, find a good consultant. This is going to be one of the best resources that you can have, because not one person knows the answers to every single question. And that's, especially true in, a lot of the small to mid businesses. Their concentration is basically, what do I need to do to make my business survive? When you bring a good consultant in, that's what we do. It's our job to try and find all the holes, to try and patch the holes, to recommend any network or network security upgrades, recommend a better antivirus than what you may not be using. What's the best, do you have a backup and disaster recovery plan? If not, make recommendations on what you need to do that's going to best suit you, your business, and what your needs are. So a resource, like it says on here, that's the most important tool that you can have, because you've got a person with another group of people backing them up that's going to hopefully be able to answer all the questions you have. And with that being the last point on this slide, ask questions. If you're not sure about something that's being proposed to you, ask a question about it. Ask for clarification. Ask the what ifs this happens, because then the more questions you ask, the more information that you're going to get, and the more stable and secure your business is going to be to keep you up and running as long as possible. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you everyone so much for attending today's Coffee with Cobb. We are so happy that you could be here with us today. However, it is not over yet. We are now in our Q&A section. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask either Bill or Jason, our subject matter experts here at Cobb, please send it in and we'll make sure that they answer if it is before 2:30. And we already have a couple questions here. So I'm going to ask these out loud, guys, and you can tackle it how you want to. How do I determine what I need to back up?
Okay, I'll take that one, Jason. As far as how do you determine what do you need to back up, the easiest way to answer that is everything. Anything that's on your systems that is pertinent to how you conduct your business, whether it's personal files that relate to your customers, whether it's business files, whether it's your databases that contain all of your information. everything that you have on your systems, that if any of it got leaked, corrupted, damaged, could cause you any type of downtime, failure, or potentially financial obligation because that data got out there or got deleted, that's what needs to be backed up.
Awesome, thank you. Our next question is, how do I know if my firewall is updated?
Okay, I guess that one's coming back to me too. Well, if, whether you're doing this yourself or whether you have a company that manages your systems for you, that is a process that you need to, regularly look at what the version of the firewall is, what firmware is on there, and then you can check against the manufacturer to see what updates there are out there. A lot of times when you get a firewall in, you can set up notifications through the manufacturer that will send you information updates to let you know that, hey, we've got a new version of the firmware out there that needs to be updated, and this is what it covers as part of the update process. So whether it's responding to notifications from the manufacturer or physically connecting up to the device yourself, looking at your model number, going to the manufacturer website and checking to see if any updates are out. That's how you would do that.
There's another important point to that too, is make sure that whatever hardware that you have on site, whether it's a firewall like we're talking about now, or anything else that's coming from a manufacturer, always keep in mind that those plans for those devices, whether it's warranties or firmware, all of those are going to have end dates for them, just like anything else that you either rent or have service for. So be aware of when those contracts or when those time obligations are over, so that you don't end up in a situation where you need to make a snap decision on either getting new equipment or upgrading an older piece of equipment for another 2 or 3 years without having the time that you need to either get with a consultant or get with your internal team to make sure that you're still doing what's best for your business.
Thanks, guys. We got another question here. How often should I be backing up my data? I have 8 terabyte of files on my SAN, and I am not sure the best way to do backups, the most cost-effective method.
Okay, for a situation like that, so you've got a massive amount of data that's on a SAN. For that, the recommendation would be going with a backup provider that has an appliance that would go on site with the rest of your equipment, large enough to handle all your backups. Depending upon the data that you're running with, majority of the times, these appliances will snapshot all your systems every hour. So, that's the best recommendation right there. And then each night, all of that data will get replicated up to the cloud. So you not only have your data backed up and available locally, but you also have access to it up in the cloud. When you have the hourly backups, usually you're only down an hour worth of system changes. If your file gets deleted, if it gets corrupted, then you can usually get that file back within an hour. That's the most common scenario right there. So just to recap, appliance large enough to handle all of your data, hourly backups, nightly replication to the cloud.
And for those of us who don't know, because I totally know what this acronym means, could you let us know what SAN means?
SAN is, let me see if I can find it right. Basically, a SAN is a network accessible storage drive. It's a piece of equipment that your servers connect to, your workstations connect to, that is just a big bunch of drives that store all of your data for you.
Thank you. So we do have a couple minutes left. If you do have a question, please put it in the Q&A and we will make sure that we get to it. But before we leave, this is a reminder that Coffee with Cobb happens once a month, so we will be having a Coffee with Cobb happening in the next coming weeks. Also, we record and send out every single episode of Coffee with Cobb, so if you attended today, you can expect a recording of this episode in your inbox tomorrow, in case you would like to review. And also, you can always head over to cobbtechnologies.com/Coffee with Cobb archives, and that will take you to all of the Coffee with Cobbs that we have done in the past almost 2 years now, ranging from MITS and IT security to managed print, output management, leasing and buying a copier, and anything to do with office technology. So if you have any curiosity about any of those things, please head over to cobbtechnologies.com to learn more. And this will be the last call for any questions that you may have. We'll give you another minute. In case you didn't see it at the beginning of this episode, we are hosting a wonderful get-together that we are so excited about hosting here at the Cobb campus. It is called Cobbtoberfest 2021. We are going to be celebrating, we are going to be raising money for our community, getting together, having fun. Halloween costumes are welcome, dogs, kids. There will be bouncy castles and vendors and food and just a whole bunch of fun. Also, to raise money, we have 6 runners from across the United States that will be running across the state of Virginia. Yes, you heard that right. They're running across the state of Virginia from the North Carolina border to the Maryland border and then back down to Richmond. And they will be crossing the finish line at Cobbtoberfest 2021. So that will be an amazing time. That is happening October 29th. From 5 to 9 p.m. here at Cobb Technologies. You can find out a lot more about it at cobbimprint.org. So check that out if you would like to learn more, and we will also include a link to that in the email that goes out tomorrow. So last call for questions. We have come to time. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bill, thank you. Jason, thank you. And we will see you in the next one.
Thank you very much.